What's shakin'? Hey, I'm Rick Jordan. Today, we're going all in. What's shakin'? This is exciting because it doesn't happen too often that we have some in-studio guests ever since all the dumb and stupidness of a few years ago. Yeah, but this is amazing because I got friends that have driven probably about 6-7 hours to come in here and see me today. This is going to be a good conversation. Because if you've ever been to a chiropractor, you know that chiropractors, typically speaking, are amazing. They're great for health benefits. At the same time, they're pretty crappy business people.
They can be.
For the most part, yeah. So Skip and Julie, it's Weiss, right? Skip
it's Wyss.
Wyss, oh my gosh.
No, don't feel bad. Nobody gets it right unless you're in Mexico. They get it right.
Oh, interesting.
Yep.
That's intriguing. Yeah.
Yep.
Well, hola. There we go. Yes. And donde está el baño? Yes. All right. We're here. We're ready to have a good conversation, guys. I'm excited. Thank you for coming, by the way.
Thank
this
you
is
for
fantastic.
having us. This has been a blessing. Thank you.
I love it. I love it. I mean, if you don't know yet, if you haven't listened to it, because I don't know when these things are publishing, but I would just have the privilege of guesting on your show.
Yeah.
And we recorded it right here in this studio, right before this episode. So if you're hearing this, we're going to post the link in the show notes. That way everybody can head over to YouTube and listen to that.
Thank you.
It's going to be awesome. And let's talk about some things. You know, because I mean, I've got your sheet in front of me, which I always do. My team's amazing at doing this. But it's like both of you are chiropractors, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah. Which is also interesting to me because we both share good friends that also are married and also are chiropractors. Yeah. This is a funny question to start it out with, but is like that a thing? Because I don't see too many IT people like pairing up at conferences, you know, but there's a lot of chiropractors I see that are married to other chiropractors.
Yeah.
Even my chiropractor, for real.
I think that the status quo is when you go to graduate school, when you go to chiropractic school, you are either there, like you're looking for a husband, looking for a spouse, you either get married, you get divorced, or you have kids.
Oh.
We did 2 of those.
Yeah, we got married and had kids.
All right.
So, yeah, but that's what happens.
That's intriguing.
Yeah.
Why does that dynamic exist?
I think it's more of a like-minded type situation.
Okay.
We met in undergrad right before going to grad school, but we both wanted to be chiropractors. That's how we actually met outside microbiology lab, which is like, cutting science geek stuff here. But I think it's a like-mindedness. I think, and then you have to be a little bit opposite to attract to one another, but it's going into the same fields, kind of understanding how each person's mind works, because chiropractors are naturally contrarians at heart. Like we question everything, and we microanalyze everything because we believe that there's a different story to most things, especially to health.
That's really, I think that's more of a general curiosity too. Mm-hmm. You know, so if that's what fits the field, that's pretty fantastic because I do have a lot of chiropractic friends as well, ones that have, you know, found ways to reverse diabetes. You know, obviously that's not like the typical adjustment, you know, that's a different thing, but there's a lot of different ways that you can go about health. Yes. And I like chiropractic care as a holistic approach.
It's a massively holistic approach. Not to geek out and go crazy in chiropractic because I believe it's 100% absolutely essential to how your body is going to heal and work. But every drug, potion, pill that's out there is made in some form inside your body. Your body is designed to completely heal itself. So the brain's what runs the entire program. If you can harness that and understand that, the healing power of the body, which you've been given, that is your true superpower. As long as you can harness it and make sure it's always able to adapt to stress.
That's incredible. Mm-hmm. And Julie, what was it the geekiness of Skip that attracted you to him?
Absolutely not.
It was not my abs.
Yeah,
it was not abs. No. It was
I think it was, neither of us were looking for something. And I think that's more of what it was, that we were both going to go our separate ways. Before, like after we left that conversation, that we were going to get married.
Yeah.
It took me a little bit longer to come along, but he tells a little bit different story.
Oh man,
it's better.
Well, now you opened up that can, right?
We sat and talked for 3 hours, Rick. 3 hours. Time went by like that. She had to go to class. I had to go to class. We both got up, walked out of the commons area, and I was walking down the hallway away from her, and I felt a hand on my shoulder, and that hand was the same pressure my grandpa always put on my shoulder. My grandpa passed away, and immediately when I felt that push, I felt I could marry her. And I was just like, okay, that all right, that's interesting. And then like 7 months later, we started hanging out. 8 months later, we were dating. We were engaged after 10 months. Like, it was just like that divine intervention, but that's how we met. Yeah. And
that's super cool.
Yeah. I always tell people this, but it's true. I like the Julie to my left, not the Julie to my right. So there was a 6'3" Julie that played volleyball right to my left.
Yeah.
And then my best friend sat across from me, and then she was right next to me. And we had great conversations, but I liked the taller blonde lady that was next to me. But then after that conversation, I was just like, yeah, this is where we're headed.
That's really funny, man.
Yeah, that's how it works.
I mean, we got a lot to talk about today, but I gotta dive into this a little bit. So you said it was like 7 months later you were dating, right?
Yeah.
What happened in that in between time? Because you were saying it was a little bit of you that was more difficult to come around.
So like I was still finishing up. I got I was doing a double major, and so I was still finishing up for another semester.
Oh, so you're like, Skip, I don't got time for you.
Summer.
I kind of told her I didn't have time for her either.
Yeah, and I mean, it was just kind of back and forth, more so like that's, when it was still, the phones with the phone cards, and so getting those minutes to make those phone calls back and forth, and driving to show up at each other's.
Google that, everybody. Google what those are.
Yeah, man. Kyocera slider.
Oh my gosh, right on.
The black colors, the black, yeah. But what held it up though is then we took that biology of a woman class, and I was one of the only guys in there. There was 46 students, and I was the only guy in there.
There's so much humor in that.
I know, dude. I learned so much.
So much humor in that.
Star student.
Yeah,
the only dude in the biology of a woman class.
Yeah, man.
That's hilarious.
I knew I was going to work with women my whole life. Like as soon as I knew I was going to be a chiropractor at 18, like we talked about that drive before. Like I knew what I wanted to do. And then I knew I needed to understand how to work with women. Yeah. Because that's what I was going to be around. And then she needed homework. You were on a trip with your boyfriend at that time.
We both had boyfriend, girlfriend, and so like that's where there was nothing like we didn't think anything was going to happen. So like you put an opportunity or you challenge me, I'm going to hold you to it. And he said, yeah, nothing's going to come of this.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay.
Wow.
Yeah, right. That's what I was on my way down to chiropractic school. I was going to Palmer. She was going to go to Northwestern, which is in Minneapolis. Yeah. I was going to the Quad Cities.
Still chiropractic, two different schools.
Yeah, it's where I was headed. I told her that's where I was going. I told her I would never go to the school she was going to.
So how did that change?
I didn't think that
she followed me.
So we can talk about self-worth. I did not follow you. No. It was a thing that at that time, right, like first generation college student, chiropractic was like still my family is like doesn't quite understand it, right? Not really any support. I was growing up told that I was always going to fail. Yeah. So looking at this prestigious school at that point to think that how could I ever be able to get into that school? Like why would I apply?
Then I told her she'd get in. Like it's not getting into chiropractic college is not hard. Yeah. The first 6 months is. The first 6 months will destroy you unless you are solely, and that's how it's designed. Getting in, you don't have to be a genius. But that first 6 to 9 months, that first year, that curriculum will destroy you.
I've heard that a lot, yeah.
Well, it's a 5-year program it's a 7-year program in, 5-year program in 3.5 years, 7 years total if you count the 2 years that you're out on your own. Like, there is no residency. Yeah. Like, you graduate and you open your office or you work for somebody. And that's, I think, I really think that's where the business side falls apart.
Yeah, for sure it is.
And that's what we did. And like you followed me to Palmer. I tell everybody that like she knew what she had. She was following.
I know Palmer is one of the big ones, right? Obviously, yeah.
There's other amazing schools.
Yeah. I mean, what's interesting about the two of you, I mean, obviously you went through chiropractic school, right? You guys have a very successful practice, and at the same time, you're still growing and expanding. You're well beyond just the business owner or the single practitioner at this point. And what was that bridge for you? Because you hit something, and this is what I've seen, right? We talked a little bit about this on your show too. It's like there's the side of chiropractors that I've seen to where it's just like they're not making that well of a living. Yeah, right. And it's just because they feel like, oh man, it's almost like a self-deprecation. Yeah, to where it's like, I'm doing good for mankind. I don't need to make that much money. Yeah, so I'm just going to drive the same Hyundai for 12 years. You know, nothing against Hyundai. They got great warranties from what I hear, right? The warranties themselves are 10 years long, right? It's I don't like them, but whatever. Yeah, you know what I mean? And then there's the other side to where it's like what you're talking about, like chiropractors can go work for somebody else. So they could come work for you, you know, which I actually almost think is a better option if you're not going to go all in, which is the name of the show, right? And actually build something that can impact a lot of people. You know, to where you're just doing it really for the job, but then this is going to sound harsh, right? But you're doing it for the job, for just not even a lifestyle, just to like pay your mortgage, right? Because I've seen that, just to pay your mortgage, you should just go work for somebody else.
Right.
How did you guys, maybe you always did, but maybe if you transitioned from one to the other, I don't know your story, so maybe you can tell it. Or if you didn't, you've always been in that bucket of, hey, I'm a freaking entrepreneur. You know, I'm going to build something awesome and huge. What's that gap?
I knew that like I never wanted to work for somebody else. Like I knew a couple of industries. I like worked in restaurants, but I knew like I never wanted to be a restaurant owner. In like 6th grade, I knew that I was going to become a chiropractor. I was going to marry another chiropractor, and I was going to have 2 kids. But nothing in that said that I was going to be living or working under someone else. And so that thought never even came into my mind that we would be together and go work for someone else. It was never even a thought.
That's intriguing. Skip, was this in the contract or like a prenup before you guys said,
well, she made me sign several contracts. Yeah, several contracts.
We're having 2
when
kids.
When she told me all of this, and the other side of it is that she knew she was going to have that all done before she was 30, and she was going to have a boy and a girl.
Whoa, you left that part out, Julie.
She had, we had everything was done by the time we were 29.
You made it.
Well, we did. We were, I mean, but it's one of those
Julie's
things
like, duh.
It's what she wanted.
So I don't know if that was God.
And then you were in the house you wanted too.
And that was my favorite color was red. And like I didn't necessarily need to live in a castle, but there was going to be a turret, like a castle on the side of our house. Our very first house, red house, and like we had a fight tooth and nails, right? Because graduate school, neither of us have an income, right? So both of our student loan debt. And like we just wanted a house so bad. That was the first person that took a chance on us. Red house, and it had my castle.
Yeah.
Wow.
All before 30.
Reverse that in a land contract. Like there's a lot of layers to our story that I think a lot of people can resonate with. But one of the biggest things that Julie's really hitting on is having vision. And knowing that you have to rely on what your subconscious is telling you. Your subconscious is a connection. So we have to really take that onus and understand it. And I knew I never wanted to work with anybody either. Dude, I worked every job I worked at, I was fired at because they didn't like my personality, or they didn't like that I could talk to somebody, or they didn't like that I could carry a conversation on with a customer for 15 minutes. Like, so they'd get upset, or I would do the right thing. And they wouldn't like the right thing done either. And I got fired I was a bartender for 3 years. Talk about making money. And like in the right places, you can make serious money.
Hand over fist as a bartender.
Yeah. And I got fired from my job because my boss got drunk at the bar, told me to give whatever the chef wanted on him all night because it was his birthday. None of the audio was recorded. And here I am giving this guy free drinks all night. He called me into his office the next day and fired me. And I had 3 people there standing up saying, no, you told him to serve him.
Yeah.
And he's like, I would never do that. And I'm like, this guy just blitzed out of his gourd. But at that point, though, I even sat there and I'm like, I'm never working for anybody ever again.
Yeah.
Unless it's her.
I was going to ask you, what was the lesson you got out of that bartending?
Number 1, how to communicate with people. But number 2, how to read people within 30 seconds.
Oh, wow.
Are they there to drink? Are they there to socialize? Are they going to get hammered? What's their intention? Are they trying to pick up the girl in the bar? Is she trying to pick up the guy? Being able to read them really fast and understand their intentions. That was the biggest thing I got from bartending. And then understanding from that life lesson is, number 1, I really have to learn to trust my team that I put around me. And if I put a team around me that I can't trust right away, what's the point of working with them? Like, what's the point? And at that point, I was like, and the other side of it is like, I'm never going to not trust them, but I'm never just going to fire them based on accusations that I can't prove.
Yeah, right on.
Like there's so much, you got to have integrity.
For sure you do, yeah.
And that's with your patients and people in front of you too. Like you have to have integrity. If you don't, what do you stand on?
Yeah.
Nothing.
Yeah. And now you can probably read your patients in 30 seconds too.
I'll read them in about a minute.
A minute, yeah. That's fantastic.
Yep. Because I want to know what
we ultimately want to be able to serve and give them everything that we want.
Yeah.
But that's not the right time or the place for that person. And so just understanding that, meeting them where they're at.
Understanding what they want and then getting them to maneuver into what they need. Because a lot of people that come in when they're in pain, they want their pain gone.
Yeah.
Like they want their pain gone.
For sure.
Being in pediatrics that we're in, they want their kid to stop crying all night. They want the colic to stop. They want the acid reflux to stop. The mom wants to be able to feed her child breast or bottle or whatever it is. They don't want a sick child anymore. And when that happens, you need to solve X, Y, and Z. But then also, you have to be able to understand where they're coming from, but then communicate to them in a language they understand, because everybody communicates differently.
Yeah.
And then be able to communicate with them without them feeling manipulated, because you're not. You're just leading them down a path of what they actually need and solving the problem before they have to ask or realize the problem's actually there. And the best thing that we get back, and one of the most amazing things that I get to feel, and you get to feel this too, is when somebody says, holy shit, I finally have my kid back.
Yeah.
Is this what it's like to have a newborn that doesn't cry? Is this what it's like to hold one and they smile at me and the only reason why they're upset is because they're hungry? I'm like, yeah, this is what this is supposed to be like. And that's when you see their world start to change. But had I not known how to communicate with that mom, not manipulate, because you can do that. You can manipulate a customer. You can get them down areas and put them in the.
Oh, yeah, anybody can. Sales, whatever. Yeah.
Yeah, because you're not fiscally responsible to them, which you actually, everybody that's in sales holds some sort of fiduciary status to their client. They do, because if you're bringing them down a pathway that you know that, like, I'm taking them down somewhere that they don't want, that's going to end up in anger, aggression, and be bad on you.
Yeah.
So you have that responsibility. But if I can take you down somewhere that I know is going to help you, they're happy all day. You just got to be able to get them to that point.
Yeah. Julie, is that part of the gap that you see that we're talking about? Is that different in the chiropractors that are just doing the job?
Absolutely. And I think people are always like, sometimes people like to dabble, right? And I'd say we do things differently in our office. And like everything that we do in our office is because we wish we would have had those opportunities for our kids. It's always been a learning lesson. Mm-hmm. And so I always take it from like the outside view of like, what would I want for my child? And if this is what this is the issue, this is what it's going to cost the time, I would want to know that up front so that I can make an informed decision rather than like, what can you do for a schedule or, what can you afford? And I'm going to tell you that care plan, which we know is not going to solve the problem.
Yeah.
So we tell like, no judgment, but we tell patients lots of times what they don't want to hear, but we tell them the information so they're informed so they can make that decision and that choice for their family.
I love that. You see these chiropractic facilities, I'll call it that. I don't know what it is, but there's 7, 8, 9, 10 chiropractors in this one. I remember, I don't know if you know, still around, Chiro One. And I remember like the whole thing. And while of course we understand the sales aspect of it, right? But it took out the care aspect because everything had to be in a program. Everything, which programs are great. God, I love recurring revenue. My business, recurring revenue is freaking king, right? But then at the same time, it's like when it comes to healthcare, it's holistic care really is what you guys provide. Like there comes to a point to where it's like, cool, we want to be able to actually get you healed. Rather than just keep you continuously coming back. And I could see that even in the differences of the two chiropractors that I've seen over my lifetime. The first one was like, you know what? Yeah, just come back next week, come back next week, come back next week. And the other one that I'm using right now, she's awesome. She's like a precision scalpel. It's amazing.
I love it.
Especially with like the difference in the axis on my neck. I mean, holy hell, I've never had that done on a special table. And it's like that just like resets my life every time that needs to be put back into place. It's phenomenal. For her, she came up after she gave me, and I actually had not a herniated, it was a
bulging disc.
Yeah, it was bulging out. It was pressing on my sciatic.
Yeah.
You know, I actually had my calf muscles seized for like 3 days straight.
Yeah.
I had an orthopedic surgeon look at an MRI for me and be like, you need to go to surgery now. You know, we did surgery. I'm like, you know what? Hold on. Hold on a minute. But going and seeing her, man, it was incredible because she's like, okay, here's what I see that you need to get you back to a baseline. And she's like, when we get there, we'll reevaluate. Because her primary thing was like, man, you're in a lot of pain. I want to get you out of it. I can see the gap, but we're in the care between the two. Where do you see the gap in the business side? Do they even teach this stuff at Palmer, like business acumen?
No, they don't teach it at any schools. That's why chiros that understand business, they will have just private coaching companies that coach people on business alone, and chiros will flock to them because they're not getting it from school. It's what really is the issue is at school's tied into a pain-based insurance model. And that's what it is. So what happens then is the students are taught how to just do this model. When really the holistic cash side of things, insurance only pays for sick care. Insurance only pays for sick care. So if you're not sick, you're not going to be covered by your insurance company. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to play the sick game, but I'm never going to go down the path of how do I actually help this patient attain their goals. And then once we reevaluate and get to this baseline, what's the next logical step for them? Like, what do you want out of your healthcare now? Do you want to just let things be? I don't agree with that if you do. I think we need to go in this route. What's your thought on this? What's your feeling about this? How does this make you feel? And that is where that boat is missed. And then what happens is bills stack up. So then what happens is patients come in and you're seeing them as this little money bag over their head, like that one's $50, that one's $50 or 75 or whatever you're charging. And you're seeing everybody as they need to pay my mortgage, they pay for my team, they cover my overhead. And instead of it being this amazing healing process, it becomes a pay my mortgage type situation. And then we become really, really needy. And you know as well as I do, if you're needy, people can pick up on that fast. Even though you're not trying to be. But if you're in that state of lack, of need, not of overflow, abundance, positivity, which is a better healing environment anyways.
Right on.
If you're in that negative vacuum suck, people don't generally want to be there. And that's why we love being in pediatrics and in kids, because I don't see a lot of kids that are in pain. We see a lot of kids that are sick, but we don't see them in pain. And the environment's different. It's a lot more fun, number one, because we have kids running everywhere. It feels like a zoo at times and daycare and all this other stuff. But then on the other side of it is just like I said, it's being able to bridge that gap to a mom. And creating the lifestyle they want. That's the thing, is what lifestyle does the patient want? From a parent's perspective, from a kid's perspective, what do they want for their kid? And then this entirely next barrage is coming in with neurodeflective and autistic disorders in children, which is extremely high right now and is continuing to go up. And that's a whole different conversation. How can we help mom get through her day first? And then how do we get her through her week, her month, her year? And because of that, we have direct effects on marriage. We have direct effects on the relationships in that household. And like you had talked about, it increases the proximity to them being with their child versus the distance away from them, because they finally understand them and we're able to get them the child that understands them back.
That's incredible. What I'm hearing is your focus, like even on their care, is it's not just on their care. The adjustments in their body is not necessarily your holistic approach. Your holistic approach is around their entire life. That's where I see that gap, guys. I mean, even outside of business acumen and everything, it's like you go to one chiropractic office, like he's frantic, and he's my chiropractor previous, right? Going from exam room to room to room to room to room to room, and just looks like so stressed trying to get people in within that period of time. And he's charging so little too. So from a business aspect, I'm like, man, if you just bump your prices like 20%, you can lose a fifth of your customers, still make the same money and provide better care. And it's like, I would tell him this. He's like, no, that's not me and everything. And I've had conversations like that even with like a primary physician one time. I'm like, dude, have you ever thought about concierge care? You're really freaking good. It was like, oh, I don't think that. I think I have a duty to provide. I'm like, do you have a duty to provide for your family? And couldn't you provide better care if you had less patients?
Exploded brain.
Yeah.
You can,
it's frustrating. Like in our profession, it's usually like I commented on the way up here, a $27 exam. Yep. All it does is a disservice for everybody else in a profession, because again, we already know what that standard of care is going to be in that clinic. And so it's us. It's almost, sometimes it feels like it's an us against them, and it's not because we're better, but it's just because our model is a whole community. It's getting the family well and not doing it for a coupon. Like I say,
yes,
you have children, right? If one of them needs a brain surgery, you're not going to go to the yellow pages and look for a coupon of who can do that surgery, right? You're going to go to the best. And that's where like we say we're the best, but we also have the initials, we have the extra studies, we have the patients that say it and talk about it over and over.
We provide an experience that's important. The experience changes their life. That's the key. Patients don't, in our office, our families don't pay us for our adjustments. That's what they're billed for. They pay us for the experience.
Yeah, right on.
They pay us for me being by them. They pay us for you walking through the room saying hi. We practice in a very open environment. There are no closed doors except for our exam rooms. Like our tables are out. Massive 500-gallon saltwater fish tank made in Las Vegas, like aquarium style. Massive. Everything we built is for the experience. They pay for the experience. Yeah. And that's where chiros miss it.
Yeah, right on.
They miss the experience. They miss it. This is a journey. They come to you. Yeah. They come to you for the experience. They don't come to you. If they want to come to you for the adjustment, they can go get the cheap adjustment. I can go get the $15 haircut. It's not going to look right. It may or may not work. Whacking off to one side, not lined up. Like
it's saying supercuts. That's what you should have on your wall, right?
This ain't supercuts. We fix supercut adjustments.
Yeah, right on.
We fix those. We fix that stuff because you have to have the care plan. Yeah. Bottom line is it's an experience, and that is actually what's really missed is the experience. Because you walk into that dude's office that's frantic, he's probably got he probably still has Sports Illustrated on a coffee table, which doesn't even really.
Yep.
He's got last week's paper. Nothing's dusted. His staff is maybe in scrubs. Nothing is really that professional, up to date. What are you expecting then in your care and your outcome?
Yeah.
Doc comes in, doesn't look like this, t-shirt maybe, V-neck. Cool if you're outside, but man, patients, when they come in for the experience, I want them to know that I'm focused on them, they're focused on me. Yeah. And that's what it's about.
That's
the
beautiful.
Value, right? That doctor doesn't see the value in the thing that they have. I think that's what it is lots of
times. It's like
that
that in any business.
It is, yeah.
Right? Yeah. If you value what you have, you are going to show up. You're going to show up your best each and every day.
Yep.
And that's, again, that presentation and experience.
That's phenomenal. All right, we've talked about a lot about chiropractic and business and everything. I want to talk about getting beyond that. You know, because I mean, you guys are very much into legacy.
Yeah.
You know, and legacy is not just any kind of practice, right? A chiropractic practice, or even if it's a business like this, like a cybersecurity business, it's what happens outside of that your purpose can drive. You guys teach others about this too.
Oh yeah.
So give me a little insight in this, because I mean, Julie, it's like, I mean, I've got a lovely sheet on here, right? But obviously you're a mom, and right after the mom is multiple real estate owner, investor, business coach, and client experience master. You know? So I mean, skip nothing against you.
I'm just a chiropractor.
But all that is like fueling legacy.
Right. I want to. Right, like there's something different of legacy of like that it's a me thing, right? That I want people to remember me. No, I want to be able to give our kids, both of us, the opportunities that weren't given to us, right? Like we had to work super hard to get to where we're at. And like we're blessed for everything that we've had. And it's just, sometimes it's when we're not given those opportunities, it slows a process. And when we see what our kids have and the things that they are already doing at their ages, man, when they have access to that now already, and then setting that up that they don't have to wait on somebody else or ask somebody else for permission to do things, or if it's financial, right? Like money drives lots of things, but money is also opportunities. So to be able to set these things up for our children, our grandchildren, just to be able to do some things that maybe they never thought possible, that's what legacy is.
Yeah, I mean, it's creating foundational wealth for them, but it's a foundation. It's a skill. It's a muscle that they need to learn. But then also, how can I make things easier? Well, if I want to make things easier, I hire a trainer. Well, let me be my kid's trainer then. Let me make some mistakes. I want them to make mistakes too. I really do, because they're going to learn. But I don't want them to make, like David Meltzer will say, I don't want them to make the dummy tax mistakes I made. Like make better mistakes. That's all. Like make better mistakes. Make bigger ones that we can both learn from. And giving them that foundational support. I think where people will often talk about the money gap in society, and they talk about it here in the United States, where the rich are getting richer and the poor are getting poorer. The only difference is this: it's a mindset. And what I mean by that is this: when you meet a child that's, let's say they're in an Ivy school, or they are in private school, and their parents are affluent, and their parents are making really good money, and they, like, if you don't know the backstory, you just think they're just naturally rich, right? Or like they got a silver spoon in their mouth. But here's the trick. They were showed at a very young age that money is energy, and money is something that they can actually bring into their life and repel just as easy. But what they realize is that once they understand how their mindset is, money is always there. Money is something that is an energy that's traded between people. It's a currency. It doesn't matter. It has to always flow, but it's always available. And that is the key. When they realize that it's available, now what it takes to make it available, work, hard work, ethics, systems, and putting things in place so that wealth stays. But once they realize that it's always attainable, and then it's not always just being taken away from them, that they just need to go and do it, that's the difference.
Yeah.
That's the difference. Because when I talk to people that are millionaires, and I'm like, what did you do? And they'll say, well, I struggled, but I always knew money would be there. And that, it seems like that is the one common denominator between a lot of them.
For sure.
Is that they always knew that it was available. How they got it, different situation, but that it was available and it was attainable. And that's what they, like Brecken, same deal. What do you want? Well, I want to buy this RC car. I'm like, okay, not a cheap RC car. All right, like $300 RC car. Okay, that one goes like 50 miles an hour. Okay.
Those are fun.
Those are awesome. Traxxas cars, all that stuff. Typhons, I said to him though, I was like, how are you going to get it? Because I mean, dad can get it for you, but you're going to work for it. How are you going to get it? Well, I'm going to sell golf balls. Okay, what are you going to do? He's like, well, we're on the golf course, right, Dad? Can we just go in the woods and start finding the good balls? So we do. We go out. He finds all the balls. He finds all the Pro V1s and Pro V1Xs. Turns around and sells them for $15 a dozen. And mathematically figured out how many dozen he had to sell to get what he wanted. And he did it within a month. So it's teaching them those foundational basics, but then saying, okay, now go out and get it. Now see, the money was available. Yeah. You just had to work for it. Peyton's the same way. Peyton's the same way. Hustles, lemonade stand, does what she wants, does her Etsy shops. But they all know that creating that foundation is key.
They have to make that step.
You make the step.
Yeah. And we give them an opportunity to support them, for them to, like, if they have that business model and it fails, that, hey, no big deal. Let's rethink it. Let's do it this way. And it's just that entrepreneur, that legacy mindset.
I think the other thing too that people need to really understand is that I don't want to call it weak money, but weak money is easy. When somebody's supporting you, it's easy. When the government makes things readily available to you and you don't have to work for them, it's easy, but it leaves easy. The stuff that is actually very hard, and I think of it as like hard money, you work for it, doesn't leave fast. You have a value to it. If you're being provided services and making things easy, you will never have a value to work or work for it. But you also lose it just as fast as you got it.
Yeah, right on. Yeah.
It's like any type of a gift or something, like you're given it.
Yeah.
Kind of like, oh, no big deal if something happens to it. But when you use your money.
Peyton always thinks twice when she's buying a pair of sneakers when it's her money versus mine.
Oh, for sure.
Always.
It is, yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. That's,
you know it, you guys.
Yeah, but it's also, it's in a good way too.
Yes.
You know, because it's not thinking differently about like the thing being like, I think I'm going to save more to get this or something like that. But there's more intention that's put into the purpose or the purchase, I should say, you know, to where there's something that I specifically want. I need to make sure that this fits into everything else that I need.
Yeah.
And then I'm going to make sure that it all fits. So there's no there's no scarcity in that either. I think allowing our kids to make those decisions on their own, just like you're saying, right? Going to find golf balls, you know, how are you going to get it? And it's like, awesome. There's intention that's put into going after something that you want.
Yeah, absolutely. And that is exactly how we foundationally made it. And then teaching them then the next step, like what we do and you do with real estate and coaching other companies and business opportunities with these people, with these other business professionals out there, is how can we make your money work for you? Like, you're working so hard for this. Well, why shouldn't it work for you? You're not a slave to money. Money should be a slave to you. Money needs to work for you. So if you're going to put in 40 hours a week getting that paycheck, well, why can't it return 10 on its own?
That's what it should be.
Yeah. Why is it not returning 10 for you? And a lot of people can't wrap their head around that. They would rather take that 10% it could earn and buy Starbucks 3 days a week.
Yeah.
Which, that's not a necessity. It's not letting that money do what it's supposed to do, but then teaching them that. So Brecken's thing, golf balls, name starts getting out. Now I get messages saying, your son got any more balls? I don't know if he's out hunting today. I'll let you know. But he doesn't realize that. He's like, what do you mean they still want more balls? I'm like, just because you attained what you want doesn't mean it didn't just keep going. You need to keep it moving now. Oh, yeah. And now your money starts working for you. And then what we'll do is we'll invest in these small companies. So we'll go into startups with mom and dad, and you'll throw in a couple K, which to some people might be a lot of money. To others, $2,000 for a child is a significant amount of money. Yeah. They'll throw $2,000 in on a startup. And now that money, and I know the startup's good, I've vetted it, I've walked them through how they're doing it, like what their receivables are, what their payables are, how they're making money. And then, does this company have longevity? Is it producing something that people want? Brecken, he's in on a robots company. Peyton, the same way. They're both in on an app called Queued Up, which is a music app. They are in these things. We show them how we do it, and then we bring them alongside of us, and we're like, hey, what do you think of it?
Yeah.
And it's really interesting to see what children, like young adults, think.
Well, and I think it's like when you take the labels off of it, or everybody else telling them, no, you can't do that, or you're not old enough to do that. Who says how old you have to do real estate, to do investing, if you have somebody else that you can do it with? And I think that is that legacy of just teaching our kids that you don't have to listen to what everybody else says is what is normal, because we don't live a normal lifestyle. Everything that's common, people think that that's normal. That doesn't mean that it's right.
Yeah, for sure. I loved what you said, and I want to bookend this because it's a great conversation to stop here with legacy. What you said, Julie, is that a lot of people think legacy is about themselves, or but it's really about everybody else that's around you that you want to impact. And how do you guys, bringing this full circle all the way back to chiropractors, what are you guys doing to show chiropractors that that's what's important?
We have.
That's a deep question.
It's a very deep question. We're active in our community. We have a chiropractic nonprofit. We take care of vets at no cost. But again, that's
awesome.
It's our mission, right? Because we only have hours during the week that we can serve.
Yeah.
That we can, adjust during that. But being able to reach more, to have the opportunity for conversations like this, so at least somebody else can hear. Maybe this is the first time they're hearing about chiropractic. Right, to understand, okay, these are the things that I was looking for. I turned this on, I never listened to this, and I heard this today. That must be a sign that maybe I need to reach out, or this is what I need to do. That is the legacy. And if our kids can understand the things that they are passionate, what their purpose is for, and they can step into that without listening to all the negativity or everybody else telling them not to, that's what we're doing.
Every chiropractor strives to make an impact. Every one of them.
Absolutely. On either side of the spectrum that we were talking about earlier. Everyone does. Yeah.
Just some do it a hell of a lot better than others. Because I don't want to be Alan on 2.5 Men. Like that is what people view some of this stuff as. Yeah. And I get really impassioned about this. Like, I'm not living on my brother's couch hitting on my secretary. I have a family. I have a wife. I have a community that trusts me. And I'm going to put as much as I can back into the people that trust me, gave me their hard-earned money for the services that I rendered to them. But then how can I give back to them and make sure that their money comes full circle for them? Full circle. Yeah. They give it to me, it's going right back in. Vets come in, they lay their life down. I've never had the honor of serving. They have. And some of them have died. And that's true. Like, but the thing is that those guys that laid their life down for me has allowed us to practice without any fear, to practice any religion I choose, and not have any form of persecution brought against me. That's pretty fortunate.
Yeah.
But then be able to see these guys come back and know for a fact, 22 vets a day taking their life because they're in pain, they can't hold down a job, they can't financially support their family. If you want to stop a vet from committing suicide, figure out a way that they can financially support their family. If they can financially support their family, they don't think about taking their life anymore. But if what's keeping them from financially supporting their family is pain, chronic pain, back pain, leg problems, can't pick their kid up, can't get on the floor with them, can't spend the proximity time with them that they know that they need to have because they've been gone for 3 to 4 years, that's what changes it. And if I can turn around and help these vets and help these moms and dads, but then they're allowed then to create longevity for their families, well, that's the American dream.
Yeah, right on. That's beautiful. Guys, you are amazing. What you're doing is amazing. I love you talking about your kids too. Yeah, those guys. I used to play with those RC cars, the ones that go 50 miles an hour with my uncle. Like one of my favorite memories about my uncle when I was a kid. They do fly.
They do.
Yeah.
And you can bust the crap out of them and you can replace every part.
Yeah, right on. Yep. He never cared. I'd flip it and he'd be like, it's okay. We got more parts. Yeah,
more
exactly.
More parts. That's the thing, is find something that you can do, build and learn from. Brecken learns so much from these cars and rebuilding them and doing new engines in them and stuff. All of those life skills that he learns, and the same thing with our daughter. Like, it's just, I want them to have that.
I love it. Skip and Julie Wyss in the studios. I messed it up. Wyss in Mexico. We're going to say adios. It's a good callback, wasn't it?
Yeah, I love it.
Thank you for being on. You guys are amazing. Where can everyone find you except what I have on here, except for Dr. Julie Wyss, right, on Instagram?
Yep.
And Skip_Wyss _DC.
Yeah, it's how it makes it.
We'll have that. Yeah, we'll have that in the notes. That's okay.
But that's how it always is.
Or what's really cool is Prime Coaching Company. Prime Coaching Company. You guys are amazing. Keep teaching people about legacy, because that's what's most important in this world, is the impact that we leave when we leave. I said that right.
Yeah.
Yes. All right.
Exactly.
Okay. Thanks, guys.
Thank you for having us.
All right. Bye-bye.